Hi, welcome to my podcast, Sylvr Tea. My name is Sherry, and my podcast is about living my new norm after surviving breast cancer. After having breast cancer, after having gone through that process, I now want to live my life to the fullest. I want to talk about today how I got to where I am right now. It was back in March 2022. We were deep into the pandemic, and we were sheltering in place, and I had missed my mammogram screening for 2 years because we were going through this whole pandemic. So I had decided 2022 it was a good year to try to go, but I didn't want to be in the hospital because we were still wearing the mask, and I was a little nervous. So I was trying to wait a little bit. What happened was I had pains in my breast, and with those pains, one was worse than the other. I said, well, let me go ahead and schedule my mammogram screening. And so I did. I scheduled my screening, and I went to the hospital, and it was a long process. I forgot what the machine, I don't know if it was called a 3D machine. I really can't remember, but there was two different type of machines. I actually was in both of them. The one that we're mostly used to, where we have to stand and hold the bar and then they smash it. So I went through one first, and then I went through the second one. And then the second one was the one that we all know, where they smash your breast in the machine, and it's very painful. But I found out that that is done because they're trying to even the thickness of your breast so they can see into your breast better with the machine. So I just learned that just last week because I was in there for my, I think, 6 month checkup. So I think actually I have one more 6 checkup, and then I can actually go once a year again. So I'm excited about that. So they had me in the machine, and then they saw something, and they asked me to go sit down in the waiting room and wait a little bit because the doctor wanted to review the screening. And so they were going back and forth. They were calling me to come do more pictures. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but y'all scaring me. Well, what y'all doing? So finally they said, well, we see something. We looked at it several times. It hasn't moved its position. It's just kind of staying there. So we really want to get more. We want to see it. We want to do a biopsy. I'm like, what? A biopsy? I said, okay. All right. So they scheduled a biopsy. They also scheduled an appointment with the doctor that was going to be doing the lumpectomy surgery on my breast. And so I went to the doctor. Me and my sister jumped in the car, and we drove over to the doctor. But let me tell you, when he called me to tell me I had cancer, I was on the phone like, really? That's how I was on the phone. And he was just sitting there quietly as if he's used to delivering bad news. And he knows how people take it, because some people actually get mad at the messenger for delivering his news. So I'm not that person. I would just like sitting there. So anyway, we get to the doctor's office, and he tells me that I can record the appointment because there was a lot to absorb. And I must say, there was a lot to absorb. He was talking about HER2 positive breast cancer stage 1A, and this is what happened. I'm like, there's this A in there? I mean, because I know there's stage 1 through 4, but I didn't know there was now subcategories, which is for the subcategories. So after we talked and got through all that, we had to schedule my appointment and for the surgery, because now my surgery, I was opting to have the breast reconstruction as well. So I had to have both doctors in the operating room at the same time. So I had to have the breast reconstruction doctor and the surgical breast cancer removal doctor in the operating room at the same time. So their schedules needed to meet up. So I ended up getting my surgery like in June. Now, mind you, I found out that I had cancer, but like I waited to June. I had to go until June. It just seemed like everything just moved so fast after that doctor's appointment. When that surgery came up, There was short-term disability. There was the surgery. There was chemotherapy. There was hospitalization from infection from the port that the doctor put the port in. He was a little rough. He was kind of shoving it in there, and I end up with being septic on day one with an infection. I end up being septic or having sepsis, and I was hospitalized for 5 days. So anyways, I had the surgery, port installation, the infection. They removed the port, and then they installed a PICC line in my arm. And when they did that, they also sent me home with antibiotic to continue to help fight the battle of being septic, because they sent it home. I could only give it to myself intravenously. There's no taking by mouth. You couldn't do that. You had to 3 times a day. Okay, 3 times a day. Thank God for my mom, because she was spending the night for about a week dealing with me, trying to get this in there. The nurse was coming, but I didn't have a wound specialist, so then I had to take care of my own wound from the port, because they couldn't get a wound specialist out to see about me. So it was a lot of stuff going on, and let me tell you, it messes with you mentally. So I have to say, my family was the best. I was a cheerleader for myself, as well as the great support system of cheerleaders that I had. I had my 2 sisters who played nurse while I was healing from the port installation. My 2 sisters were there making sure my wound was taken care of 2 times a day. They was packing it. They was covering it with new gauze, new everything. They were doing the whole thing. I mean, they did such a wonderful job. I mean, this is like all the stuff that went on, but I still came out on the other side with a good attitude. So this is the reason for my podcast. I want to talk about my new norm. I want to talk about my eating. I want to talk about my new lifestyle. I want to talk about things that I used to do that I don't do no more, or things that I never did that I'm doing now. So it's a lot of stuff. So in my podcast, I would really like to share with you my new norm. And I also would like to hear from you what your new norm is after having breast cancer. What are you doing different? There's so many things. There was weight loss issues. There was I didn't lose weight during chemo. I gained weight. So they were saying that was good. Well, good for who? That's the real question. I don't want to be gaining no weight. So people were losing weight, but I would say opposite. It's gaining weight. My sisters, my son, they were running me back and forth to the chemotherapy. Please hit that notification button. Subscribe. Let me know how you like the channel. If you like what you hear, come back for the new podcast. And we're going to talk about what your new norm is. And I'll talk about my new norms. I'll talk about everything. And I also can touch more on how short-term disability was a stress factor, a bigger stress factor than anything else that I was dealing with. The financial part of it was tough. So yeah, and we'll talk. But what I want you to do is hit that subscribe button, come back, let's have a chat again over some tea, enjoy some nice tea. I'll talk to you later.